All souls have a journey, and all troubles have a root and a starting point. For Natalie Webb, the root that was planted leading up to the road of sobriety and recovery began here at Meadow Grove Apartments. Today, with transparency, we will go back in time, down a painful path of memories. Please gather your loved ones and open your hearts as we get raw and real about life.
Step on her. Wake up, brother, gonna rise and sun. Step two. Bring some food to the meal. Step three. Girl, hug out what you wanna do. Step four. Everybody just do your thing.
Wake up. Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.
He looked at me and he said, "Do you want to go to glory?" And I looked at him weird and I said, "What? Glory?" And I realized what he was saying. And I said, "No, sir." And then he looked at me and he just said, "Well, you keep doing what you're doing." I'm falling. I hadn't dealt with a lot of stuff, or a lot of stuff wasn't placed on me. And now I'm starting to really truthfully see like life. And now I'm getting hit with things.
Help me. Oh, see, back in the day, you know, grandparents kept the liquor out. You know, the bars, you know, back then, the old school, how old school houses looked, the basement, everybody had a bar in the basement. Yeah. So the grandparents had bars in the basement, and, you know, the bumpy face, see, from Jen, you know, Jen will make you sin. And that was kind of like, I would just drink on that. And then, you know, my pops, he had liquor too. You know, it was nothing to get to the liquor cabinet.
So I moved here. My mom, me and my sister moved here probably in the early 90s, like maybe the beginning of the 90s. I was probably about 4 or 5. So that made my sister like 8 or 9, something around there. And this was an amazing place to grow up in. This actually right here was a whole playground. This was a swing set area. It was a sandbox and a slide, and it was fun. It was dope. And I actually stayed right there where that deck is, the little red painted deck right there. I stayed right there, and I mean, it was live. We had a ball. Jason Moore, Candace Moore, all of us, Brienne, like this really was an amazing place to grow up at. Unfortunately, as I got older and started to grow up, that's when my mother took ill mentally, and I went through a lot of stuff growing up here. And I decided to come back here for going into my 8 years, because as I'm going on this journey, I feel like people always say, you know, don't look back, don't look back, don't look back. No, sometimes you got to look back in order to go forward. Sometimes there are things that you have to deal with in your past in order to move forward. And so at this point, this is pretty much the reason why we are here. And I'm trying to be very, very frank when I say this. I was brought up in the church era, you know. I was brought up in the we not gonna talk about it era. I was brought up in we gonna go along with things just because we family era. And a lot of things that I dealt with here, a lot of the things that I was put through here, and again, I don't want to continue to go into that and keep going backwards in regards to what I went through here is a lot of the reasons why I'm dealing with a lot of the things right now. And but when she got sick, our relationship faded to black. I was like I don't know, because of her illness, she saw something in me that she hated. Okay. But she treated me very, very poor. Very, very poorly. She would lock me in rooms for days at a time. There were times where my sister had to sneak me food because she wouldn't allow me to eat. She wouldn't allow me to bathe at times. She would buy my sister all of these things. And I remember this in very particular. My shoes were so messed up. They had holes in them. Oh, and, you know, my dad you know, was angry. Like, you know, my dad was paying child support. No, he wasn't even paying child support. He wasn't on child support. My dad would pretty much give my mother money every week. You know, my dad is an electrical engineer.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, oh, you know, he couldn't give the money. So my dad wanted to make sure that we were taken care of.
Okay.
And so my dad wasn't understanding why, you know, my sister was out here rocking, you know, Nike Forces, and I got these beat up shoes. So I remember one day my dad took me to MC Sporting Goods and he bought me some cross trainers. And I was so happy. I had these. I couldn't wait to go to school and show off my shoes, and my mother was pissed that my father had bought me some new gym shoes. So I remember the next day she took me and my sister to Livonia Mall and purchased bought my sister the new Grand Hills, and she didn't buy me anything. And she would do things like that. She would wash my sister's clothes, wouldn't wash my clothes. So I remember one time I was in the 5th grade and I didn't have any clean clothes, so all I had to wear, and I was a tomboy, so I had no choice but to wear a dress to school because I didn't have any clean clothes left. One time, I don't even remember what I did. She was so angry with me that she threw she called me downstairs, and she used to have all our pictures, you know, kid pictures, you know, in the window, and she took all my pictures and threw them in the trash can. And then she made me go upstairs. It was one time where she put me on punishment for the entire summer, and then walked in the room and told me, you're off punishment. And I was so happy. I didn't know why, but I was off punishment. And I remember I took my bike and I ran outside and I rode my bike outside, and about 20 minutes later she called my name out the window and she told me, I take it back, you're back on punishment. It was like she would do things to, like, give me freedom, take it away, give me freedom, take it away. People say, you're 37 years old. You know, you're walking around crying and hurt about things that happened to you when you were 10 or you're 15 or when you were a child, and you need to let it go. That's not humanly possible. Once something traumatic happens to you, it's like somebody branded you for life. And you have to figure out, and you have to look at that brand every single day of your life, and you have to learn how to maneuver through life with that brand. And as more things start happening to you, you start getting branded. So it's like your body is constantly being branded, and you have to maneuver through life with these brands on. So for a person to say, let go, or get over your childhood, get over the molestation, get over the abuse, get over the heartache, that's crazy to me. As I'm going into my faith and I'm walking into my faith, it's really crazy to me, because yes, God wants you to get over things, but you don't forget them. And so it's kind of like transforming your mind to doing better. And one of the most, I guess, biggest things that happened to me here, right over here, probably in this area, I would, the bus would come and we would get off the bus and we would, you know, come. My mom would pretty much stand right over there and wait for us to come to her. And this one particular day, I got off the bus, because at this time my sister was now in middle school. I got off the bus and my dad was waiting there for me, which was extremely awkward, because my dad never picked me up from my mother's spot from the bus. And he had told me at that point that me and my sister were no longer going to be staying here, and that we will be moving and transitioning on to living with him and my stepmom. And for a child, that's traumatic, to walk into a house and think that you're going to have your items to take with you, and told that your items were just too distraught to take, and they throw it away, and you pretty much have to start over. And these things hurt, and you become angry, and nobody explains things to you, because back in the day, you don't tell children what's going on. But that doesn't make any sense. A child should know what's going on. A child should have an understanding. I'm not saying can't give them the whole meal, but the child should have an understanding of what's going on. A child shouldn't be kept in the dark. And talking about things is a big thing that I feel we don't do as people. We don't talk about things. We go through things and then we move forward, and we don't talk about how to get through them. We just move forward like it's normal. And a lot of stuff that we go through is not normal. So when I sit back and I say protect my peace now, people say, oh, this protecting your peace thing is crazy. No, it's not. It's not crazy. You shouldn't have to go and be a part of or sit back with your family members who've harmed you or wronged you, and you angry about it and you don't want to talk about it, but you got to be around and go around them just because we family. You shouldn't have to sit back and face or sit across from somebody who molested you, but we're not going to talk about it because we're going to keep it in the family. But we got to still love each other because we family. That's not okay. That's not cool. That's not the 1950s. This is a whole new generation, and God doesn't want people to hurt. He don't want any of us to hurt. He really wants us to heal. So if healing means that you have to detach yourself from your family, if healing means you got to detach yourself from your friends in order to get your mind right and to protect your peace and to guard your heart in order to move forward in a healthy manner, then that's what you're gonna have to do, because that's what I'm doing right now. And even being here, it gives me chills, because I remember just how I felt in certain moments of knowing when I got off the bus what I was getting ready to walk back into. And nobody knew, just like nobody knew about my drinking. And that was a problem. We got to talk about these things. So being in the 8 years of and coming back here as a whole adult, where I have the ability to talk and I have the ability to say how I feel, flat out, there's no better way for me to say that God had angels protecting me and my sister the entire time we were here. There's no way I can explain it. When I think about certain things, when I think about things that have happened here and what transpired, there's no way, there's nothing but God and his angels that were literally in that house with us when we were going through the stuff that we were going through. So it's full circle for me to come back here at this point as I'm walking into my 8 years, and it humbles the hell out of me. And I'm so appreciative for God allowing me to come full circle and come back here not drunk, because I used to come back here. I used to pull up all the time with alcohol in my car, and I used to sit here and I used to be so angry and upset that this shit happened to me. And I was so angry about a whole bunch of things, and I used to sit and I used to get drunk, and I used to pull off drunk. And so for me to be able to stand here and have peace and not feel any type of way, that's growth, that's progress, and that's nothing but God. Last year was, from start to finish, it was probably the worst year of my life. I can't tell you that there was anything positive that came. Each month it just got worse and worse, from car accidents, breakups, all time. I can keep going. Money spent, having to be off work, all type of things that's going on. And in the end, I was pretty much just left. I don't even know what word I want to say. I was just left, pretty much. I felt like I thought I was moving properly, but God saw something different. You know how people, we pray for things. We pray for, Lord, I need this car. Lord, I need this, I need that. I need my rent paid, or whatever. And so you start moving accordingly to what you want. And then once you get it, you stop praying. You go back to doing what you were doing like God never really existed. And so how I have been moving, even since probably after the second year of me being sober, I think I started to move like I knew God existed, but I didn't place him inside anything that I did, if that made sense. yes, I would, get on social media and I would say, God, you have to put God first. You have to do this, this and that. But now that I go back and I really think about it, I really wasn't living what I was saying. And I think God saw this among so many other things. And when I tell you he snatched everything from me that meant something to me, he snatched. I'm talking about strong relationships, family relationships. I was getting ready to get married. Whole fiance, all of that just snatched. And in the beginning, I was just so angry at just everything. Like I couldn't believe that this is the stuff I was going through. I was talking to you, I was talking to multiple people about just what was going on, the things that were happening, and I was just becoming so angry. And in that process, it wasn't even me thinking about alcohol. Alcohol really didn't even come into my mind. I just wanted to just set everything on fire. I don't really feel like alcohol would have been able to control what I was feeling. And so because of that, I pretty much had to sit down. They say God will sit you down. God sat me down. And so one day, I text one of my cousins and I asked him to do something for me. I'm not gonna say exactly what I asked him to do, but in the end, they told me no. And they told me why they weren't gonna do it. And this is where we start getting into the Bible. There was somebody of a mutual presence that pretty much explained, or I guess mentioned my name. I haven't never spoken to this person, but they kind of prophesied some things to her about me. And so because of that, they refused to acknowledge my request. However, they did put me in place with the person that prophesied to them. And her name is Corliss Myers. And I refer to her as my spiritual advisor. I talk to her every Sunday, video chat for about an hour to hour and a half. And the first time we spoke, it was nothing but tears. Like I was just crying just profusely. I was in so much pain on a mental level, just really on just so much pain all the way around, and how I view myself. As we started, talking and I was telling her I was waking up, the first time when I went through this breakup, or excuse me, not the first time, but when I went through the breakup, the first 2 weeks, I was waking up feeling like death. Like I just couldn't sleep. My mind was just all over the place. The devil had me pretty much wanting to get in my car, go to this person's house and do all type of crazy stuff. It was just unsettling. When I told her that this is what I was going through, they made it very, very clear to me that this was an attachment issue and that detachment needed to happen. So what we did was a detachment prayer for a couple of people. And it's not like I don't believe in God or Jesus or any of that. But when you actually are in it and you see him working and you see things start manifesting and changing for the better, or just changing in general, and these are the things that you prayed for, but you're consistent in that prayer, it's amazing. So the night that we did that prayer, I went to sleep, and for the first time in a year, I slept through the night. I didn't wake up. I didn't pop up. I literally slept through the night. And when I woke up the next morning, I didn't feel like death. I felt much better. And then that's when I knew that I guess my pilot light was dim in regards to my faith. Everything that I've done, all the relationships that I've had in my life, on a romantic level, God has never been in any one of them. There's never been me praying for us. Me and my partner, we've never prayed together. God has never been in any of my relationships, which I really feel like that's a big reason why a lot of them didn't last. And I don't care how long you're with somebody, 15 years, 20 years, you can walk around and have good moments in bad moments, but there's never consistency. I feel like when you're married or you're in a relationship, there are going to be highs and lows, but there should always be a balance that you and your partner should be able to come back to. And I guess I call that common ground. You had you get into it with your significant other or your husband, whatever, y'all get angry, but it always should be that place of God where there's a common ground where both parties are able to come to and either pray it out, talk it out, walk it out, whatever, but it should be a place where God should be present. And God wasn't present in any of these things. So as I start waking up every day, I start praying again. And people say start praying again. You weren't praying before, like not consistently. No, I wasn't. I'll do a small little prayer here, a small little prayer there, but I wasn't getting on my knees at night before I went to sleep or getting on my knees in the morning when I woke up and genuinely praying and giving God and showing God the desires of my heart. As I start doing this on a regular basis, the emotional attachment to a lot of things and a lot of people started to sever. When I started thinking about certain people or certain instances or certain things that happened to me in a bad way, there is no emotion attached. I don't get angry. There are no tears that come out of my eyes. And I said that to my spiritual advisor, and she said, "Do you know what that's called?" And I said, "No." And she said, "That's called peace." When you're able to think about a situation or a person that has harmed you, done you wrong, or whatever in that nature, and you can sit there and think about them and you don't feel any type of way, that is what you call peace. And that's really what I've been praying for since I went mute. As you know, I got off all social media platforms. It was a distraction. I didn't realize that I was waking up every morning and rolling over and grabbing my phone instead of getting on my knees and praying and thanking God for allowing me to even wake up. I'm grabbing my phone, I'm getting on Facebook, I'm grabbing my phone, I'm getting on Instagram, I'm grabbing my phone and just getting on Twitter and all these other distractions that are pretty much distracting me from being obedient to Him. And so doing this, I realized that I had to detach myself. And I've gotten off social media before. A couple of times, some for maybe a couple of weeks. The last time that was a long period of time was probably last March. I was off for like 2 to 3 months, or excuse me, 2 months. But this time is different. Being off, I feel a peace that I've never really felt before. I'm no longer concerned about what goes on in anybody else's life but mine. I don't get online looking and seeing rest in peace to such and such and such, or somebody cussing out somebody subliminally through, like none of that. It's all a distraction, and in a way it can kind of stress you out unknowingly. So to detach myself from that, I really started to see who my true friends were. I started to see who really was riding for Nat when I was literally pretty much going through probably the worst thing I've ever gone through in my life outside of losing my grandmother. I felt like people don't reach out to people anymore. They just go on social media to see how they doing. I don't need to call Racquel. I don't need to call, Jason. I don't need to call any of these people because I get online every day and I see that they posted a picture or made a status. So one, I know they're alive, and two, regardless if the status is true or not, I have some type of understanding of that they're okay. Not understanding that, you can be whoever you want to be on social media. There's no truth in social media at all. It's really a false place for people to be and be comfortable in all the foolishness that they want to bring and infect everybody else. So people who wanted to know how I was doing, they were going to have to pick up the phone and they were going to have to call me, or they're going to have to shoot me a text or email, whatever, and see how I was doing. You were no longer going to have access to me through social media. And it also, maybe about 2 to 3 weeks after that, my life really started to, I guess, become more calm. And then that's when I realized, when you broadcast what you do on social media, when you tell people your plans, when you tell people the possibility of getting a job or the possibility of getting a house or a car or moving or anything positive to do with your life, there are a gazillion people on social media who are praying against your for you moving on. And so by realizing that, that's when I really start understanding the concept of the evil spirits, and the attachment that they have to certain people. And you don't even really realize that you're dealing with people who have attachments of evil spirits to them until after the fact. Probably for the first month, I was just walking around kind of just questioning like myself. When you do things to people or you do wrong, you punish yourself with guilt. Guilt is worse than stress as far as I'm concerned, because that's something that literally just sits there and it can manifest from head to toe. When you do something wrong or you do wrong by somebody and you really, really sit there, you know you were wrong and you just can't let it go and it eats up with you. That's kind of how I was rocking for the first month. I was just really, really felt so bad for a lot of things that I did, knowing that I wasn't that person, knowing that I really just wasn't in the right state of mind, and not even knowing that I wasn't even in the right state of mind until I got out of it. And I just kept feeling so bad. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to do that. I shouldn't have done that. And, you know, people are like, you know, why are you beating yourself up so bad about something? The best way for an apology is change behavior. And so when I would talk to my spiritual advisor and tell her, you know, like, I just felt so bad. Had I not done this, had I not done that. And when she said, well, did you apologize to God? Did you apologize to God? Did you apologize to yourself? Did you make amends with yourself? And did you make amends with God? And then after you did that, did your behavior alter? And I said, yes. And then she said, well, then you leave it there. And that's where you leave it. And you move on from that. Because we as people always feel like we have to be a certain way for God. We have to move a certain way. We have to talk a certain way. We don't feel we're worthy enough to, you know, we say, oh, if I step back in the church, I'm on set on fire because of all the things and all the sins that I've committed, and, you know, in the past year or just my entire life. God is not going to love me because I did this, and that. And that's just not true at all. Once you start realizing, accepting the fact that God's gonna love you no matter what you do, that don't mean just do whatever. Like, I can go and smack the crap out of somebody and it don't matter because God's still gonna love me. But genuinely know that He created you and He knows that you're gonna make mistakes. Period. That's just what it is. The problem is that we make mistakes and then we continue to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, which is the definition of insanity. And that's pretty much how I've been living my life. At this point, I decided that I had to take control of my life. I had to fight for my life. There was no way in hell I was gonna wake up every freaking day and feel like crap. There was no way every day that I was gonna wake up and my heart is feeling sorrowful, knowing that I know that I'm a good person all the way around. So I started to fight for my life. And one of those things was I decided to go back to therapy. I talked to my cousin, one of my cousins, and she told me, you should never stop going to therapy, ever. She said that if you start going to therapy and you were going every week and then you start feeling better and then you go from every week to every 2 weeks and so forth and so on, you should always go in for a check-in because life has its ups and downs. So when you walk out of therapy and you feeling better and whatever issues that were going on at that time has subsided, a month later something else is going to happen. And sometimes what's happened might be way worse than what you were dealing with before. Therapy allows you to keep balance. So I decided to go back to therapy. I decided to sit down and say, okay, I need help. The way that I was moving, how I was moving was not okay. I got sober. I no longer put toxics in my body, but I never, ever, ever dealt with the mental part of why I was drinking in the first place. And because of that, it started to manifest within me. My actions, how I moved, the things I would say, because I wasn't dealing with the 10-year-old little girl that was crying and screaming and wanting to be loved by her mother or her father or whoever else. I never, ever, ever set out and dealt with those feelings. Instead, I just allowed it to manifest. And I thought that if I stopped drinking, that all my problems were just gonna subside. How I was feeling and everything was gonna go away. But if anything else, it amplified times 30. And I felt like I had to put on even more mask to hide from what I was truly going through. And I was looking for other people to pretty much fill those gaps and what I was really truly yearning for. So as I'm going on this journey, as I'm hitting the 8 years of sobriety, it's not even about me being sober. It's not even about me being sober for 8 years uninterrupted. It's not even about that at this point. For me, it's really spiritual warfare. It's real. It's extremely real. And it's very important that you know the word. It is very important that you know who you are, because people can tell you anything. And when people start telling you things and they tell you the same thing over and over again, you start believing that crap. You start believing that that's who you are. When somebody says you're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar, that's not really who you are. We don't really know what people be going through. We don't know why people do the things that they do. But again, like I said, the biggest way to pretty much show that you are genuine in your apologies is about changing your behavior for the future. And so at this point, as I walk into this 8 years, I've had 3 to 4 people prophesize to me. And I'm not talking about like no small little prophecies. I'm talking about like some like, okay, I need to sit down right quick. What you saying to me is too close to home. And I'm not going to say what was prophesied to me, but I would say that each and every person that prophesied to me, it was all the exact same thing. The exact same thing was said over and over again, to the point where I said, okay. And now I legitimately spend my days in silence. All my life, I've been in and out of relationships. All my life, I've been taking care of other people. All my life, I've legitimately been putting everybody over Natalie. Everybody. Even getting inside of relationships. In the beginning, it's about us. And then eventually it becomes about, I'm always just them. It's always been this way. So for the past 3-4 months, when they say trim that fat, cut the fat, I've literally cut the fat. I have trimmed the fat. When I start praying, and my prayers were very direct to God, things start happening. And one of the common prayers we all pray is, God, please remove those in our lives who mean me no harm. Or who mean me harm. I want you to remove the people that are around me who literally mean me harm, and give me common sense to remove those that are coming in the future. When I start praying that prayer, when I tell you, he started removing people like crazy, people that I never even thought that we would never have a relationship. And it can be temporary or it can be permanently, I don't know. And I was so angry and so hurt in the beginning, but this is what I prayed for. This is what I asked for. I'm all about, at this point, if God is gonna place people in my life for the betterment of me, then I'm gonna accept those people. And if God is gonna remove the people that aren't, then I have to accept that too. Because one thing I do know is that God is love, and God is never ever going to put me in any type of position that's going to harm me. He's not going to snatch away and take away all these people for no reason. Everybody keeps saying, God has something major in store for you. And I genuinely believe that, but I'm no longer trying to figure out what that is. I'm literally, at this point, I'm living. And living in silence for me consists of my phone doesn't ring. None of my phones ring anymore. I can literally leave my phones at home and come home and maybe 1 or 2 missed calls, if that. My phone used to blow up all the time. I used to feel like I had to be in it. I had to know what was going on. I had to have my ear to the ground. And then consequently, people made this assumption of Natalie is this huge player and all this other stuff. And I allow people to think what they want to think, because people are going to be people. But ultimately, at the end of the day, again, that's not me. And it's no longer about what people think of me. It's about what I know God thinks of me. God is not going to create anybody and set them up for failure. There's not one human being that he's created, regardless if they got killed, they sitting in jail. We all started off on the same level plane. Now where we go, that's why he created free will. So at this point, as I step into my 8 years, I step into it in silence. I'm not celebrating, I'm not partying, I'm not going out, I'm not doing any of that. I'm legitimately celebrating in silence. I spent Thanksgiving in silence. I spent Christmas in silence. I spent New Year's in silence. And I'm gonna spend this in silence. And it's by choice. I know it's a gazillion people who, hey, Nat, let's go hang out, let's go do this, or, you know, come over here, you don't have to be alone. At this point, it's a choice. And I feel like it strengthens my relationship with God. It allows me to hear him better and clearer. I spend a lot of my time now reading my Bible. And people will be looking at me like I'm crazy because somebody said, you know, you are not the same. This is not the same Natalie who would have 4, 5, 6 different chicks lined up and be throwing parties and going out and do, because I'm not, that's not the design of me. And that is not the mission that I feel like God has for me. And at this point, it's about me being consistent and it's about me being obedient. Well, hello. Greetings and salutations. It is me, the one and only, yes, Natalie. I'm gonna bring y'all on the inside in a second because it's been a minute. It's been about 4 to 5 months and I have just disappeared off the face of the earth. So I've been told by multiple people. So people are like, what's going on? What's that about? What the hell's happening? I'm not gonna give you everything. I'm probably not even gonna give you half, but I am gonna explain some things to you about what's been going on with D in these past 4 to 5 months. So come on in. Let's get into it.
Getting this project done has been challenging, and I know why. It was lacking what needed to be addressed. Often we want to present ourselves to the world what we want them to see, but it is the transparency of the dark places that lead to the deliverance of others. In this interview, Natalie, you will become of a reflection for so many who can relate but lack the courage to voice what you will today. This will also make you a hero by default, but a humble one. I am asking that you trust me today and go there with me. I believe this is in divine order. Okay. You ready?
Let's go.
We're going to start with a very simple question.
Simple.
What caused you to move to Atlanta?
Oh. I had no other option. I was in a situation where me and a person I was dating a long time ago, we had finally broke it off, but we were staying together. And I ended up going back home, and I knew that was just not gonna, it just wasn't gonna be okay. There's a reason why you leave your parents' house never to return again. So when I came back, I was just like, no, this is not gonna work. And at the time, I was close to my Uncle Ron, who stayed in Atlanta, and we were talking a lot, and he kind of presented that option of coming down there, and I just had to get up out the house, and so that's how I ended up going down to Atlanta.
I know that after your grandmother had passed is when you really started to do the drinking. Mm-hmm. But I want to know, what was the first situation past that set you off to make you take a drink as a coping mechanism?
So you want to know even after I lost my grandmother?
Yeah.
Like what situation? Honestly, any situation. I think I was so sensitive. I think my soul was so raw and so sensitive at that time that anything would set me off to drink. It was as if there was no way I can function normal, because the moment I functioned normal, that's when the emotions started to come back. The agony of missing my grandma and so many other things that I was dealing with. That's when all that, it would come back. So anything. You can be like, hey, Nat, why you didn't call me? And I just be like, oh man, dog, I need to take a drink on that. I don't, you know, that anything. That's pretty much where it's at.
Now it's starting to get a little deeper. I'm going to ask you this question, and you might have to think about this for a little bit. What is Natalie afraid of? And I ask you knowing that this does make you vulnerable.
My ultimate fear is losing my sister. That is the ultimate fear, even though there are many times where I just want to smack the hell out of her, repeatedly. And when she watches this, I'm sure she's shaking her head like I feel the exact same way about her. But there's nobody on this planet there's nobody on this planet
Take your time.
there's no person on this planet who has had my back in the manner in which she's had my back. No matter what I've done, no matter what I've said, there's nobody on this planet who has loved me outside of my grandmother, who has just been present. And you can't buy that type of love. You can't bargain that type of love. That's love that comes within. That's the type of love that God wants everybody to have for everyone. So my biggest fear is I don't know if I will be able to function without my sister. Even when we argue and we don't talk, I still know she's alive. I still know she's present, you know. And I think that's what we feel about a lot of people that we beef with or we don't deal with. It's the fact that we still know they're present. I don't have to talk to you on a regular basis or at all. I can't stand you, but I know you still living, so I'm okay. But the moment that person is taken away, that's when reality is like, I should have reached out. I should have done this, because everything that we feel emotion-wise is flesh. So you have to be mindful of the things that you say, because that could be the last thing that you say to that person, and you don't want that last thought to be something very distasteful.
And it gets more deep.
Girl.
What is it that Natalie tries to hide from the world?
Come on, Oprah. Woo. I think I try to hide my hurt from the world. My vulnerability. And that's something that I'm working on every single day. Being vulnerable, being open, being honest, more so honest with myself first before anybody else. But I think people say I have the biggest heart. I've heard people say my heart is different from many. My heart is not of this world, the type of person that I am. And it's a blessing and a curse for me because I have a giving heart. I have a giving spirit. No matter what you do to me, I still see the good, and I try to still look past that and still help or whatnot, and people take advantage of that. So knowing this, at this point, I hide that more than anything. I think I tuck it away, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna bring that side out again. I'm not sure. That's something that God and I are working on and working with, but that is what I hide from the world, on top of, and I'll add another thing, my femininity. I feel like I'm more feminine than a lot of the friends, my female friends that I have. I felt like I had to be a certain way for so long, and those are the type of people that I attracted. But not any type of way am I trying to get lashes and all this other crap, girl. That's not even, but I am now starting to explore and enjoy my femininity. Like, I love being a woman. I just love it, and I'm starting to walk in that.
Why did you ever see yourself separated from God?
Because I was empty. God is life. God is love. God is. And so, if you bear with me for a second, I'm not a preacher at all, so in no way, shape, or form, but as you know, I have a spiritual, I refer to her as my spiritual advisor, who has literally brought me back to life. Her name is Corliss Myers. When I say she is the biggest vessel I've ever come across that God has placed near me, I mean just that. So before I started talking to her, before we start praying it out hard, and I mean, I'm talking about, I was crying like somebody died, like snot. It was just, whoo, girl. I felt empty. I felt anxious. I felt uncertain. I wasn't sleeping at night. I had slept through the night peacefully in about a year. I was trying to be seen more than heard, if that makes sense. I felt disconnected. I felt off. It's kind of like you're walking and you feel like you're walking in a straight line, but you're really walking slanted. That's how I felt. The moment I decided to say yes to Christ again, because I've been baptized, and I have been explaining what that actually meant of me being baptized. I've been baptized, but me actually confessing out of my mouth that I believe that Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and so forth and so on. The declaration, the decree to Him. I've never done that before. So the moment that I did it, it was like God was saying, hey girl, where you been? He's been present. It's kind of like I was walking with a plexiglass, like COVID. I'm walking with a plexiglass, like I know somebody's present and that person is trying to get to me. And I feel that person. Every time I make a stupid decision or do something I know I had no business doing, I feel it. But I don't have enough power to stop myself. And God is trying to get through this plexiglass the entire time, and I'm blocking him, and I'm blocking him, I'm blocking him. And I finally decided, hey. So once I did that, it was like this. He became within me. And in no way I'm saying, because I swear to God, people be saying all type of stuff. In no way am I saying I'm God. But what I feel like, it's the God in me. That's what they saying. Like Jesus is in each and every one of us. Let your light shine, that bright light. My light was extremely dim last year. It was dim all last year, and I didn't realize how dim it was until I got out of everything. And so God is always, you already told, even in other interviews, it was always, I've always had revelations, or God will send people in my dreams, or all types of stuff. Me and God have always had this on and off, and at this point God is like, I'm tired. I am no longer going to do this with you. There's no longer going to be on and off. I am on. I am everything. I am first. I am last. I am the Alpha. I am the Omega. I am the beginning. I am the end. There is no more, okay, I'm not going to pray today. I'm going to pray next year. Because I was doing that. I was like, okay, when I really wanted something, and that's what we do. We pray. And then when we get it, it's okay. We go back to doing what we was doing because we got what we asked for. So we thought. Because God always says, from what I'm told, you have to make it plain. You have to pretty much be very detailed in your prayers. You can't say, God, I want to get pregnant. And then you get pregnant and then don't realize what comes with that. You know what I'm saying? You didn't say, God, I want to get pregnant and I want a man and I want a good man and I want this and I want that and I want this. You have to speak plain and make it plain and say what your desires of your heart is and are. And so at this point, even when I go through things now and I start thinking, I had to retrain my whole way I thought. My whole thought process was, I'm guilty. I am wrong. I shouldn't have done this. If I had only, maybe if this and this and that. And that's nothing but the devil pretty much manifesting in my mind constantly every day, waking up thinking these thoughts of myself, that I'm this and I'm that. God never ever says anywhere in the Bible that he thinks any of his children are bad. He doesn't say he thinks any of his children are guilty. He doesn't say anything in the Bible in regards to chastising his children. So I am loved. I am somebody, and I'm gonna fall short because God made us to do so. It's about not staying in that guilt, not staying in that. And that's what I was doing for a whole year and some change. Probably beyond that, even beyond that. So now I know what I've done. I know the things that I've done, and I know I'm gonna mess up in the future. That's just, I am nowhere speaking that I am perfect. But what I'm no longer gonna do is live in that. So don't come to me and say, hey, Natalie, do you remember you did this? Yeah, no, I don't remember none of that because I'm no longer in that. I'm no longer that person. I'm straight on that. We're not even going to speak on that. I'm walking in a whole different light, and I'm no longer going to allow people, good or bad, try to pull me back to someone that I no longer am. That's a good question. That's a good question.
If you were an observer of you, what would be your opinion?
Two-part question. Last year, my opinion of me, I was running. I was scared. I was broken. I was deceitful. I was heartless. I was angry. I was compassionate within reason. I was all over the place. This year, I am whole. I am better. I'm getting better. I am God's child. I am a work in progress. I am a heavy prayer. I cannot move without his permission. I am obedient. And I continue to stay humble.
This is a deep question, possibly. Throughout your intimate relationships, what is the one thing you were looking for?
Lord Jesus, we talking about intimate relationships, Lord. The one thing that I was looking for was unconditional love. And some of my exes might be watching this and they be like, how, girl, whatever, I loved her. And see, people look at love as love. And I'm like, no, you got love And then you got that unconditional love. You got that, it don't matter what you do, what you say. And in no way am I saying be a fool, be an idiot love. Oh, I'm just gonna let you steal from me, lie to me. Like, I'm not saying that, because we all fall short of something. And sometimes we fall short consistently until we figure it out, get up and realize, you know what, I'm done with that, and we move forward. But I think I was looking for a love that I just don't feel exists if you aren't in the bloodline. Meaning that if we aren't related, I don't really feel that there's anybody out there that's gonna give me the type of unconditional love that I desire. And the difference now between this Natalie and the other Natalie is that I am no longer looking for it from anybody, because I get that every day now, in a spiritual way through my father. Now, companionship, do I miss it? Absolutely. I told you, we are designed. God created us to have a companion. Adam, he realized he needed a companion. So we need a companion. Be it somebody to talk to on a regular basis, somebody to marry, love, whatever. So do I miss that? Absolutely. But I know that God doesn't want that for me right now. There's something else going on in the atmosphere. But it'll come in due time, but I am no longer looking for that, because I feel like that's what got me in trouble. Looking for somebody to accept me for everything that came with me, flaws and all, times 10. And I think at times I might have been wrong for looking into people that deep and expecting that from them. Because when it was over, my reaction was always more grave than that person. And I think that's just because of what I was looking for.
What do you think is standing in the way of people loving unconditionally?
Flaws within themselves. I feel like the saying, you can't love somebody else until you love yourself, is 100% accurate. I think a lot of us are walking around here hurt, angry, upset, jealous a lot of how other people live, jealous of our own family, jealous of our own peers, hell, jealous of our own mates at times. And to say, I'm gonna love you unconditionally from your hair follicles to your toenails, shout out to Jill Scott, but to say that you gonna love somebody like that, that's a hard thing to do. That's a heavy thing to do. That takes strength to be able to unconditionally love somebody through it all, through it everything. And people say, well, that's why people get married. And I said, well, not a lot of people stay married now, do they? Come on now. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. And I have the utmost respect for those that stay married through it all. Because there are people, I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, because it does. I've seen it. You know, a lot of our parents have been married for decades, and our grandparents been married 50, 60 years. So I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist. You know, Uncle Edward cheated on Auntie Tanya, and she shot him in the kneecap and then nursed him back to health. And they've been married, and they've been good, and had 5 more kids, and they've been good. It exists. But I'm no longer looking for that. Because God is a jealous God. And I feel like I should have been looking for that through him and not anybody else. And that's just where I'm at with that.
What did you want from your mother that you felt she couldn't or didn't give you?
I wanted her. I wanted everything that came with the definition of a mother from my mother. I wanted to be able to run to her and talk to her about puberty, what my body was experiencing, or if I have a crush on somebody, or how to handle rejection, or have her help me pick out my graduation dress, or pick me up after I get my hair done for a dance, or just be present. And I stopped getting that when she got sick. So I didn't get those things. There were no birthday parties thrown for me. It was none of that. It was the things that I wanted. When I look at mothers and daughters, I look at them weird. I kind of tilt my head and kind of back up a little bit. I feel uncomfortable at times around mothers and daughters. Sometimes it's because I'm envious, and then sometimes it's because I don't understand the dynamics of a mother and daughter relationship. And a lot of times that makes me frustrated. A lot of times I get angry with myself because I want so bad to connect, to have an understanding of that bond. And I don't, so I feel foreign. When it comes down to mothers and daughters, I feel foreign. Now you want to talk about daddies and daughters, I can talk about that all day. You know, I'm a daddy's girl to the day I die. But and I think because of that, a lot of my relationships did not prosper. Because you asked me a question about what I was looking for or what I was expecting in a mate. And I think a part of that is a mother. And that's scary because women don't sign up for that shit and they shouldn't have to. And that's just my honest answer. And it's okay, because me and my therapist, now that's my best friend. So she's getting me together. Every week, she's getting me together.
I guess you kind of touched on this, but maybe we can dig a little deeper. How do you feel your relationship with your mother has affected you up until today?
Oh man, Lord, it's a double sword. I want to connect, but I'm scared to connect because I can get in a relationship with somebody and I know I might do something dumb on purpose just to jeopardize that, because in fear of, I already know that later down the line that person is going to leave anyway, so let me go ahead and expedite this situation and just do some dumb stuff. Fear of abandonment for me is huge. When people walk away from me, especially when there's been investments in place, it's hard for me to translate that into being okay, because so many people in my life have walked away from me and I've had absolutely no say-so in that situation. So I look at a lot of things different. I don't feel like I'm as sensitive as I know I should be. Because my mother is a very sensitive woman. Before my mother got sick, I said, like I said, I felt like she was Superwoman. Very, very sensitive and always very preached to me and my sister to cry, to show our emotions, to lay it out. Because people who don't cry, people who hold in their emotions, end up dead or in jail or on drugs. And I ended up not dead, not in jail, but drinking, because I had a hard time handling my emotions. And I think my mother was helping me with that. Before she got sick, I think she realized that I had some emotional issues. And right when she was getting ready to deal with that, that's when she got sick, and those issues never got addressed. And that's just what it is. And so now, at the age of 37, I'm addressing those issues and I'm tackling them head on. I've never even seen this side of me before. And it's not a side that scares me. It's just kind of like one of those sides that's just been hidden, but it's the best of me. I don't talk to people at all like that no more. I talk to you, a couple of family members, a couple of work, associates, but to just be within me is so weird and so new, but it's something that I'm starting to enjoy. The only person that I have to concern myself with is me. What's gonna make Natalie happy? And these are the things, again, that my mother was starting to present to me at the age of 8, 9. But by the time, it was supposed to get to that level, she had taken sick. So my emotional issues are off the charts because of that. And I recognize that as well.
If you could get your mother to acknowledge and apologize for something or things that affected you, what would they be?
In this situation, to answer your question, I don't even need an apology. I don't want an apology. Because even though I'm angry, I realize and I know that her actions were not of her own. When you bipolar, when you schizophrenic, when you have any type of mental illness, you aren't of your own. You aren't. When you're not medicated properly, when you're not, following a regimen that whatever the doctor set out for you to do, and you are no longer yourself. The things that you say aren't really who you are. The things that you do aren't really on who you are. When you're on your mania, you out here tripping and doing and saying all type of crazy stuff. That's not who you are. When you laying in the bed and for hours and days and months on end depressed, that's not who you are either. So if that's not who she was, now if she was a mommy dearest, everything I did, I meant it. Majority of the stuff that my mom's done, she doesn't even recall. Don't even remember, because that's how out of it the disease had taken her. So knowing these things, it would be selfish of me to say, you need to apologize to me for doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you need to apologize to my sister for doing A, B, C, and D. And you need to apologize. Why? First of all, the apology wouldn't be sincere because she doesn't recall doing it, so there is no emotion attached to it. And then what am I getting out of this apology? What is that going to do for me in the long run? Is that going to change anything? Then is it going to change anything now, knowing that I know that wasn't her at all? Does it hurt? Every day. But that's one of them things where, like I said, I can't expect an apology from someone who doesn't even recall their actions. It's one of them things you just live with, and you just have to learn and ask God to give you clarity and peace as the days go by so that you can be okay and focus.
Now we get into the light portion again.
Okay, we get light.
Reflecting back, what are some of your favorite memories?
Memories.
Growing up. Well, from childhood to now, what are some of your favorite memories?
Favorite memories, man. I swear to God, swear for goodness, was sitting at the round table with my grandmother on Hanover with my sister. We would talk for hours. We'd be up to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and she would just be dropping them gems that, you know, your grandmother dropped. Singing with my grandmother. You know, that's one thing I miss more than I miss breathing. If I stop breathing, excuse me, is singing with my grandmother. The harmonization, I enjoyed that. Everybody knew anytime you saw us together, we was gonna put on a show. That's what we did. That's what it is, and that was the favorite memory. And I it's sad I don't really have a lot of favorite memories, especially as I got older, because my 10 years I was spent drinking was very blurry and in and out, and I guess DJing, pretty much. Memories in regards to that.
And the last question, why do those stick out to you? Do they offer safety, joy, security?
Safety, sanity, especially when you go back and have flashbacks about conversations that you had with somebody that passed away that has meant a lot to you, and something bad happens in your life years later, and you hold on to those words. You go back to that place, that secret place within you where you store those memories, and you go through those Rolodex, and you remember, you know, when grandma said, you know, this and this and that, and those words give you comfort. Those words give you peace. So, you know, holding on to those memories is nothing. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that, especially if it helps you in a healthy manner. And at this point in the game, and where I am at, transitioning into this 8 years of sobriety, I'm all about peace. Even when it's hard to see peace, to be peaceful, I'm all about peace at this point in my life, because that's really all I have, and that's what I can control. So holding on to those memories, they give me peace, and they bring me happiness.
Well, this has been a very in-depth interview, and I appreciate. Matter of fact, this is not an interview. This is a documentary of your life.
Yes, we said it's a documentary, and it's crazy because I just said that, you know, like, you know, you watch documentaries of people, you know, they've been, you know, they are, I guess, of importance. You know, they are Hollywood, big time, and I'm doing, you know, and I'm just, you know, small fish in a big pond. And I'm more so doing this as therapy for me. But I'm doing this because I just want people to know just how good God is, and has been to me. Because 4 months ago, you might be standing there with your camera at my funeral. Because that's how bad and out of it I was. And alcohol had absolutely nothing to do with what I was feeling. I had no desire to drink. It wasn't about that. And that's when I realized, not that I got this alcohol thing on lock, but this alcohol thing is not what the issue is at this point. So I don't have a desire to drink. But I was so out of it. I was so bad. I was in such a bad state, and I was detached from him. So I felt nothing. I felt no joy. I was in despair. I was in just horrible. But the moment that I reconnected, I'm talking about, you not hearing me, the moment I reconnected with him, I start sleeping through the night. My thoughts started to change. I no longer felt guilty. I no longer felt shameful. I no longer felt bad. And I realized that I'm gonna fall short. And I might make the same mistake a gazillion times. But that does not make me a bad person. We as people, we do things, we make mistakes, and we sit in those mistakes, and it drives us crazy and it tears us down as people, and that's what Satan wants. His job and objective is to kill, steal, and destroy. That's all. And he works vigorously in our thoughts. So from going to I just don't want to live, to now I'm all about life, and I'm okay with being by myself. I'm okay with the decisions that I have made, because those decisions don't define who I am as a person. And if people don't want to accept apologies, if people can't see past what I was, then this is exactly why God has been stripping me of all of the people that I thought were going to be with me for life. I am okay walking alone because I'm genuinely never alone. And I am so appreciative of the village that has stood by me through all of the madness I've been going through these past 4 to 5 months. Because it hasn't just been about breakups. I've experienced all the deaths, fallouts, all type of stuff. And you in my village, and I'm not about to shout out names. Y'all be tagged in Facebook posts. But I appreciate y'all too. The people coming by, the people dropping off food, the constant texts, the constant phone calls, the constant check-ins. During this time, I genuinely saw who was truly down for me. And I ain't one of those people like an elephant. I never, ever, ever forget. So I appreciate y'all, and I just had to throw that in. I know that the interview is done, but the 8 years ain't about the 8 years. It's not. It's really more so about spiritual warfare for me. It's about breaking those generational curses. It's about moving forward in a positive way. It's about staying wrapped up in prayer. It's about staying wrapped up in my faith. It's about staying wrapped up in the word. Because I genuinely believe in my gut that God has something amazing in store for me. And he had to remove everybody he felt wasn't worthy enough to be a part of that. Because one thing Ms. Corliss has taught me is that everybody can't come with you. Everybody is not ready to see and be a part of what God has in store for you. And that's all I got. So we walking into this 8 years, prayed up, and I'm thankful.
Cheers to 8 years.